Hello Motorrad World fans, and welcome to Paddock Talk, talking World Superbikes this time. And we're going to just give a quick roundup from the Mandalika round, where a new world champion was crowned in the World Superbike class, Alvaro Bautista and Ducati. What a dominant year it's been for Ducati. Golden year for Ducati. A week after wrapping up the MotoGP title with Pecco Bagnaia at Valencia, Alvaro Bautista, who was present there with the whole Ducati team to celebrate that, flew out to Indonesia, the Mandalika race, and wrapped up the World Championship there. The first World Championship since 2011. Carlos Checa, that's how long it's been for Ducati and World Superbikes. And you sometimes forget that because they've been so dominant in so many ways, but they haven't been able to wrap up the championship. Pretty much like their woes in MotoGP. For so long, they poured so much into it, went for the best riders, did everything they possibly could, but they've just never been able to win that title. And in MotoGP, they've wrapped it up now. In World Superbikes, they've wrapped it up. They've pretty much dominated. And hats off to them. They deserve it because they've poured so much resources into that. They've thrown money at it. They really are what a lot of manufacturers need to be. They're exciting, they're passionate, and they don't hold back. They throw everything they possibly can at it. So I know there's the critics out there that say it's not fair that Ducati have got 8 bikes in MotoGP and this and that and this. You can't fault them because they are putting their brand and out there, and they're putting their resources behind it all to get these kind of results. And Alvaro Bautista, listen, I'll put my hand up after his 2 dismal years at Honda, when Ducati announced that he would rejoin them this year after, what happened back in 2019. Kind of thought, why Bautista? 37 years old, could they have gone with a Petrucci maybe or someone else? But it was the right decision because he came back, gelled immediately with the Panigale V4R, and dominated the season. He really did dominate the year because 14 wins, 29 podiums in 33 races so far, wrapping up the World Championship with a round to go. We still have to go to Phillip Island, where it's going to be very hard to beat Alvaro Bautista on that Fos Ducati. Now, there's a couple of talking points here, big talking points when it comes to Alvaro Bautista on his Ducati in the World Superbike Championship. The first one, and Scott Redding has been a big voice behind this, is this rider to weight, or rider weight limitation bike and rider weight limit cap that should be introduced into World Superbikes just to level out the playing field. I can understand the argument because a big guy like Scott Redding doesn't really stand a chance against the tiny figure that is Alvaro Bautista. But I'm sympathetic to that argument, but at the same time, I don't think it's justified. Why should Alvaro Bautista be penalized because he was born with the perfect motorcycle racing genetics, and maybe Scott Redding wasn't? If you look at Bautista dominating on the Ducati, no one else is really doing it. If it was Ducati 1, 2, 3, week in, week out, you could maybe have an argument for certainly penalizing Ducati a little bit more so than Alvaro Bautista. I don't think Bautista should be penalized because he's got the perfect, race horse jockey type physique, which is what you need in certainly World Superbikes. It's the perfect motorcycle racing physique, which is Alvaro Bautista. But at the same time, as his argument was with Scott Redding, was, what he gains in that department, in being lightweight, he loses out in strength. So the more physical tracks, he's maybe not as strong to flick the bike left and right and manhandle the bike compared to Scott Redding, in the strength department. So I don't think it's justified. I wouldn't like to see that come in. I wasn't a fan of Kawasaki, when Johnny Ray dominated all those years, where they gave this rev limit ban on the Kawasaki's. I don't think they should be. Ducati shouldn't be penalized for having a brilliant V4R machine. They shouldn't, because, Kawasaki and Yamaha were caught napping by Ducati. And same with the MotoGP product. Ducati got better and better, and the likes of Honda, Yamaha, and all the others were just caught resting on their laurels. Just, okay, well, we don't need to do that much. Let's just slightly improve and update our bikes, but nothing major. Ducati have made these giant leaps, and they've brought a championship winning package to it, and they shouldn't be penalized for that. So I don't agree with that argument of this rider and bike weight limit that needs to come into it. Alvaro Bautista was just the best rider on the best package this year, and he took full advantage of it. Well, I say the best ride on the best package. I still think Toprak Razgatlioglu is probably the best World Superbike rider, although Johnny Ray, I don't think the Kawasaki is anywhere near up to scratch to competing against the R1 that Toprak's on, and certainly the Ducati that Alvaro Bautista's on. I still think Johnny Ray is a serious title contender, but Kawasaki need to bring a new machine. They updated their bike with this integrated winglets and a little bit of different riding position, but engine-wise, they haven't really done much. Yamaha is the same. They need more power. Toprak Razgatlioglu won all 3 races in Mandalika, but he came out afterwards and had the same complaint as Fabio Quartararo did in MotoGP. We need more power to compete with the likes of Bautista and Pecco and Ducati. And that's what Kawasaki and Yamaha and Honda and everyone else competing in MotoGP and World Superbike need to do. They need to throw more. They need to throw more resources, more budget, more everything to get themselves to Ducati. Aprilia are doing it. The tiny factory that Aprilia is doing it in MotoGP by putting 2 more bikes in with RNF, with Miguel Oliveira and Raul Fernandez. And that's what needs to be done to beat them, to compete with Ducati. So yeah, I don't like this talk of Ducati. It's a one horse race, and of course they were going to win it. Well, why not? They've spent the money, they've put their money where their mouths are, and they've got their due reward. So well done, Alvaro Bautista and Ducati, I think it's fair to say. And people forget, Alvaro Bautista is 37 years old, yes, but we forget what a talent Alvaro Bautista is. In MotoGP, he competed, he picked up podiums. Okay, he only had 3 podiums in MotoGP, which I was kind of surprised at doing my research before this video. Thought he had a lot more, because he really did have some great years with Suzuki. Aprilia were tough years, but with Ducati, he had that great ride at Phillip Island where he replaced Jorge Lorenzo on the factory Ducati in his final season in MotoGP. Had a brilliant ride there, but he really was a top contender. He's a former Grand Prix 250 world champion. That was 16 years ago, or 125 world champion, I should say, but he competed really well in the 250 class as well. So he really is an established fast rider. So, why is it so surprising that he could win a World Superbike Championship? I don't think it should be as surprising as it is to people. He's a top contender. Even at the age of 37, he looks young, he looks fit, he looks fast. And he won a World Superbike Championship. And people also say, just shows you how far back World Superbike is compared to MotoGP, if Alvaro Bautista could win the World Superbike Championship. And I don't think so. I think Johnny Ray, Toprak, and Alvaro, who are the top 3 riders in World Superbikes, let's be honest, they're not miles ahead, but way ahead of anyone else. I think they could hold their own in MotoGP, which is a very tough MotoGP. I think it's the toughest MotoGP that there ever has been. But I don't think they would be disgraced in MotoGP. Even if they went, they would need time. And that's the problem with racing nowadays, is you need time. You can't just put them on a race weekend and then they finish 16th and say, yeah, you see, they're not good enough to compete in MotoGP. They need time. If Toprak goes to MotoGP, give him the time, he will be a top contender in my mind. I think Toprak Razgatlioglu is one of the best racers in the world at the moment, but he would need time. Johnny Ray would need time. He never had time. He did a couple of wild cards on a Repsol Honda in MotoGP, and he finished 7th and 6th and 8th or whatever, and he's not good enough. You need time, and they don't have that luxury at the moment. So that is why, Toprak would consider staying in World Superbikes, because unless I get a full factory 2-year contract in MotoGP, it's not worth his while to make that move, because he won't shine. He won't be able to have the time to give it a fair crack and to show his true potential. So I don't agree with the argument that World Superbikes is miles off MotoGP. I don't think so. I think the 3 best riders in World Superbikes are Johnny Ray, Toprak Razgatlioglu, and Alvaro Bautista, and I think they've highlighted World Superbikes to perfection. The level that is at World Superbikes. I'm excited for the riders coming into World Superbikes. I'll talk about that now. Let me just finish on the Alvaro Bautista situation. I know he did have a rocket ship underneath him. He had 0.3, 0.4, almost half a second in the bag with the speed of that Ducati, but he still had to ride the bike. There was, Rinaldi wasn't up there week in, week out. Bassani really impressed me this year. I'm so surprised Rinaldi still got that factory seat over Bassani. But, he threw his name in the hat. But Alvaro Bautista was the most consistent, fastest Ducati week in, week out. And he had to ride the bike. Even though it was a rocket, he had to still ride the bike. He made moves on the brakes. He was really the best. I say he's the best rider. A well-deserved world champion. I still think Toprak is the man to beat in that category. I still think he's the fastest. He proved it at Mandalika with the 3 wins there. I just think he needs a more competitive package. The same can be said for Fabio Quartararo in MotoGP. Was he maybe the fastest rider, just not on the best package? That is a question mark. Leave your comments in the comment section. But a worthy champion is Alvaro Bautista, and he made the Ducati work. He still had to ride the bike regardless of how fast it was. Getting back to World Superbikes, I think it's very interesting with the riders coming in. Dominica Goethe, he's dominated World Supersport the last 2 years. Moto E World Champion, double World Champion in 2022. Very excited to see the Swiss rider come in on that Yamaha. I hope Yamaha can make updates and developments to help bridge that gap a little bit to certainly Alvaro Bautista on the Ducati. Remy Gardner coming from MotoGP into World Superbikes was dismal in MotoGP, but he doesn't look like that rider that fit into MotoGP. MotoGP takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of personality. You know, you've got to be suit and tie and scripted in many ways, and I don't think Remy Gardner was ready for that. I think he's going to feel at home in World Superbikes. I think he's going to be comfortable, and I think he's going to be fast. Whether you're a fan or not, I think he's going to be fast. I hope he's going to be fast because it'll just bring more attraction to World Superbikes. Then, of course, Baldassari also coming up from World Supersport 600. He just was always going to be way too big for that 600. Looked like an elephant on a tricycle, a giraffe on a tricycle, I should say, because he's tall and slender. So I think he's going to do really well in World Superbikes with the GRT team stepping up from World Superbike into World Supersport into World Superbike. I just hope that they can develop fast enough and give him a package able to compete. Tom Sykes coming back with the Kawasaki team. I'm not a huge fan of that move. I would have rather seen a youngster come maybe from Moto2, like Honda did with Lackawanna and Vieja. I would have liked to have seen maybe a Schrotter or someone come into that Pochetti Kawasaki ride, but they've gone with experience with Tom Sykes. I would have even liked to seen Chan On Chu come in there, but it seems like Kenan Sofogli's management and Manuel Pochetti have kind of said, well, he's not mature enough yet, give him another season in World Supersport. But I would have liked to have seen that move rather than a Tom Sykes. Same with Xavi Flores coming back in to the Barney Ducati squad. I would have liked to have seen fresher blood there because Honda proved it with Lackawanna and Vieja. You know, they can bring a lot to the table, these young, fresh approach, rather than, you know, the Sykes who didn't really have a great season in British Superbikes, to be honest. And did he deserve that ride? Yes, he's a former World Superbike world champion, but I think he's had his time. I think it's time to bring the young, fresh blood in. So I think it's going to be very interesting, World Superbike 2023. For now, Alvaro Bautista is your new World Superbike champion for the Ducati team. Well done to him again, and well done to Ducati. I think Phillip Island, he's going to dominate there once again. It's going to be hard to beat him there, but Phillip Island always brings up amazing racing, as we saw in MotoGP. So very, very excited for that. And yeah, stay tuned for more chatting World Superbikes and MotoGP here on our YouTube channel, and check out our Facebook page as well, where we're hopefully going to have live chats with the likes of Simon Crayford, Sheridan Rice, Brad Binder, Darren Binder, as many personalities as we can possibly get to talk not only MotoGP but World Superbikes as well.